Efe Ajagba absolutely destroys Charles Martin in 4 rounds. That was an absolute demolition job. Now, before we break this down further, I want us to have a look at the round where everything started to go wrong for Charles Martin. Have a look. So, Charles Martin was having success here, and Efe Ajagba inching forward, and then Efe Ajagba gets his hands raised as the victorious fighter on the night. That was a demolition job, guys. That was an absolutely demolition job. And Charles Martin, look, let's be honest here, right? Charles Martin is no top contender, right? Let's be honest here. His best days are over him. Fought Anthony Joshua for the world title, which he defended. Joshua was victorious on the night. But after that, Charles Martin hasn't really achieved much in his career. You see what I'm saying? He's been here and there. He's had a few fights here and there. And it was only going to go one way with this fight. Efe Ajagba is too strong, probably too big, hits too hard for Charles Martin. And it was just only a matter of time until Charles Martin succumb to the big right hand that Efe Ajagba possesses. Now, mind you, Charles Martin was doing well in the first 2 rounds. He was, landing that southpaw, backhand really well. His jab was working. He was moving to his right, which is to, move away from the big right hand of Efe Ajagba. And he was doing that very well. And he was becoming successful with that sort of movement, moving to the right, landing his jab. But you knew that it was only a matter of time where the younger fighter in Efe Ajagba will catch up with the older fighter in Charles Martin. And as we saw there in round 3 and round 4, it was just over for Charles Martin. Now look, for Efe Ajagba, this is a very good win because, as you guys will remember, he fought Martin Bakole his last fight, and it was a draw. And some people argued that Efe Ajagba won that fight, and others argued that Martin Bakole won that fight. In principle, it was a very close fight, and Efe Ajagba, for me, I think he did enough to win that fight. That was a very disappointing sort of performance from Martin Bakole. But in the end, it was a draw. And what you can do as a fighter is show that, the results in your previous fight, if you argue that it was a fluke or it wasn't the right result, you need to show that in your next fight. And that's exactly what Efe Ajagba had to do in this fight. And that is destroy and demolish, Charles Martin, who, for me, as I said, is a has-been and not really a contender anymore. He's more like a journeyman, to be honest. Let's be honest here. Charles Martin is more like a journeyman right now in his career. And he's going to go on and have a few more fights here and there. But I don't think that Charles Martin is going to amount to nothing more in his career at this stage, because I think he's done. For Efe Ajagba, though, the sky is the limit, because, look, you've got Anthony Joshua still in the division. He's on his last legs. You've got Tyson Fury still in the division, and I think Fury is also on his last legs. Alexander Usyk, I think he's got 1 or 2 more fights, then it's done for him. You've got Joseph Parker, who has been banned. Nobody knows when he's coming back. Then you have the likes of, Daniel Dubois, who's fighting Fabi Wardley at the Co-op Arena in Manchester, which is a brilliant fight, by the way. I'm looking forward to that fight. So the heavyweight division is going to be open. When Usyk, Fury and Joshua, when they all retire, the division is going to be open. And guys like Efe Ajagba and, Daniel Dubois and Fabi Wardley will be the guys who will be competing for the belts that Usyk will relinquish or will let go after he's had 1 or 2 more fights in the division. So Efe Ajagba has a big future in the heavyweight division. And right now, a fight that comes to mind that I think will be good for Efe Ajagba is a fight against Filip Hrgović. I think that's a really good fight, as a next fight after beating Martin, because, Filip Hrgović will come to fight, and that's going to be an entertaining fight. Or a fight against Agit Kabayel. That would be a great fight. Efe Ajagba versus Agit Kabayel, that'll be a good fight because, Kabayel is all action. Efe Ajagba is all action. We know that Kabayel is going to go to the body and then try and slow the legs down and then go to the head. We know that Efe Ajagba, he knows that he's not going to win a lot more fights, fighting on the back foot or trying to outbox anyone. Efe Ajagba, that's not his style. But one thing that he's good at is coming forward, throwing bombs, and looking to get his opponent out of there. And, Efe Ajagba versus Caballero would be a great fight. Efe Ajagba versus Filip Hrgovic, I think it's a really, really good fight as well. I mean, Tyson Fury is fighting Aslanbek Makhmudov. And, if that fight wasn't on the cards, then I thought that Tyson Fury versus Efe Ajagba would be a very good fight. Or maybe Tyson Fury would not want to take that fight because the risk reward is not really, there in Tyson Fury's advantage. Because if you look at Aslanbek Makhmudov versus Efe Ajagba, I was going to pick Efe Ajagba to beat Makhmudov. So I can understand why Tyson Fury will not go for someone like Ajagba, but rather for Makhmudov. But for Efe Ajagba, as I said, the sky's the limit. He's beaten Charles Martin now. As I said, he can fight a few more fights in the division. He can regain his poise. He can, look to, maybe fight for one of the interim belts when that become available. And I think there's a lot more that he can achieve in his career, Efe Ajagba, if he keeps fighting on. So look, guys, get in the comment section and let me know what you think about Efe Ajagba absolutely and emphatically destroying Charles Martin in 4 rounds, a devastating knockout. And Efe Ajagba, as I said, he moves on to the next step. Who would you like to see Efe Ajagba fight next? Is it, in my opinion, Agit Caballero or anyone that comes to mind? Get in the comment section and let me know.